What if the Nazis built more than rockets and jet planes? What if they engineered something that broke the laws of physics, something that twisted time, distorted gravity, and defied explanation? Its name was Die Glocke, the bell, a gleaming, metallic object shaped like a church bell, hidden deep within the mountains of Nazi-occupied Poland. Witnesses say it shimmered with an unearthly violet glow. Others claimed it pulsed with radiation so intense it could kill any living thing nearby. Some believe it was a failed superweapon. Others think it was a machine meant to pierce the boundaries of space and time. But what exactly was it, and why did it vanish just as the Third Reich collapsed? This isn't just another war relic. This is a ghost story, hidden in plain sight, a tale woven from declassified documents, wartime rumors, and testimonies from those who claim to have seen the impossible. Whether a myth or a forgotten truth, the legend of Die Glocke still echoes in the darkest corners of history. By 1943, Germany's grip on Europe was slipping. Allied forces advanced from all sides, and Hitler's desperation gave birth to a secret initiative, the Wunderwaffe, the Wonder Weapons. This program birthed terrifying and groundbreaking technology: the V-2 rocket, the world's first long-range ballistic missile, the Me-262, the first operational jet fighter, guided bombs, stealth coatings, and early cruise missiles. But some believe the Wunderwaffe went further. Underground labs, strange blueprints, and unexplained experiments suggest another layer, one hidden even from the Nazi war machine. A realm of science so experimental, so unstable, it bordered on madness. It's within this shadowy domain that Die Glocke reportedly came to life. The first mention of Die Glocke came not from a government file, but from a book, The Truth About the Wunderwaffe, written in 2000 by Polish journalist Igor Witkowski. Witkowski claimed to have seen transcripts from the interrogation of SS General Jakob Sporenberg, a high-ranking Nazi officer captured after the war. These secret Polish documents, never publicly released, allegedly describe a classified Nazi project involving a bell-shaped device hidden in the Wenceslaus mine near the Owl Mountains in Lower Silesia. The bell, Sporenberg said, was constructed from a strange heavy metal and filled with a violet, mercury-like substance known only as cerium-525. Inside, two cylinders spun in opposite directions, surrounded by a ceramic shell and thick lead shielding. When activated, it gave off lethal radiation. It destroyed plants and animals. And most disturbingly, some researchers involved were said to have experienced distortions in time. But here's where the story takes a darker turn. Sporenberg's interrogation claimed that over 60 scientists and technicians working on Die Glocke were executed by SS troops, under orders from General Hans Kammler, the man responsible for many of Nazi Germany's most secretive programs. Kammler, who also oversaw the V-2 rocket program and vast underground facilities, mysteriously disappeared at the end of the war. No official death was recorded. No body was ever recovered. Some believe Kammler fled Germany with Die Glocke. Others think he surrendered to U.S. forces, trading his secrets for protection under the covert Operation Paperclip, the same program that brought Nazi scientists like Werner von Braun into NASA. If Die Glocke was real and Kammler escaped, he may have taken the device, or its blueprints, into the hands of a new master. Descriptions of the bell vary, but most agree on a few key details. It stood about 4 meters tall, encased in metal and ceramic, with rotating inner drums filled with that enigmatic cerium-525. Its reported effects: intense radiation, death or mutation of biological material, disruption of electronic equipment, and, in some versions, the disappearance or liquefaction of test objects placed near it. One bizarre detail lingers. Some claimed that time itself behaved strangely around the machine. Clocks stopped, observers became dizzy, shadows warped. Could the Nazis have been experimenting with anti-gravity, temporal manipulation, quantum propulsion? We don't know. But the science, while unproven, isn't impossible. Modern black-budget projects and defense contractors have explored similar technologies: rotating plasma, electromagnetic propulsion, and even inertial dampening fields. Which raises the question, if Nazi Germany had even begun to tap into this, what happened to it? Beneath the dense forests of southwest Poland lies a mountain range scarred by secrets. The Owl Mountains, once part of Nazi-occupied Lower Silesia, are riddled with tunnels, bunkers, and decaying infrastructure that hint at a massive underground complex. Locals called it Der Riese, the giant. It wasn't just a single bunker, it was an entire network of subterranean laboratories, workshops, and fortified chambers built by slave labor under the brutal direction of the SS. To this day, only a fraction of it has been mapped. It's here, beneath the Wenceslaus mine, near the small village of Ludwikowice, that many believe Die Glocke was developed and tested, not in the open, but buried beneath hundreds of feet of concrete, stone, and silence. But what, if anything, remains? In the forest clearing near the Wenceslaus site stands something strange, a large circular concrete structure made of thick vertical supports arranged in a ring, with hooks or mounting points at the top. Locals call it the fly trap. Historians refer to it as the henge. Its design is baffling. It appears to serve no conventional industrial purpose, no pipes, no machinery, no clear function. Some theorists believe this open-air ring was part of a testing rig, perhaps the external mounting point for Die Glocke, designed to stabilize the device during activation. It may have allowed the bell to be suspended by chains or cables while experiments were run beneath it. Critics argue it could have been a cooling tower base or a support structure for some unknown industrial machine. But if that were true, why is there no record of what was built there? Why is the area still partially restricted? In the 1990s and early 2000s, independent investigators began interviewing Polish locals who lived near the site during and after the war. Their testimonies are disturbing. Some reported strange humming sounds at night, like electrical buzzing that seemed to come from deep underground. Others described seeing blue-violet flashes lighting up the trees, only to be silenced quickly by German patrols. One woman recalled livestock dying overnight after drinking from a stream near the mine. No official explanation was ever given. But the most haunting accounts came from former forced laborers, survivors of the Gross Rosen concentration camp, which supplied labor to the Owl Mountain sites, described being ordered to transport sealed metal containers into a chamber they were forbidden to enter. Those who disobeyed were never seen again. After the war, Allied investigators scoured Nazi sites for secret technology. They seized papers, interrogated scientists, and stripped labs clean. But curiously, Der Reich was left in limbo. While the Allies heavily documented sites like Peenemünde and Nordhausen, key centers for rocket development, the Owl Mountains were treated with unusual discretion. Very few official photographs exist. Many wartime blueprints were intentionally destroyed or redacted by the Germans before retreat, and those who survived, scientists, technicians, SS guards, simply vanished. This silence has only deepened the mystery. Why was this massive site, which clearly involved thousands of tons of concrete and millions of Reichsmarks, never repurposed or fully studied? Why did the Soviets, who controlled the region after the war, seal off several tunnels permanently? Some suggest that whatever the Allies found in those hills, if anything, was too volatile, too incomprehensible to release to the public. Or perhaps they found nothing, because the bell was no longer there. According to several post-war intelligence leaks, Die Glocke was moved in early 1945, as Soviet forces advanced into Poland. But to where? Some believe it was flown to Bavaria, where Kammler had access to a remote airfield and tunnels connected to the Alps. Others suggest it was smuggled into Argentina, possibly alongside fleeing Nazi officers and U-boats. The most controversial theory, however, involves Antarctica. Rumors of Base 211, a secret Nazi stronghold beneath the Antarctic ice, have persisted for decades. Though mainstream historians dismiss it as pure fiction, several declassified intelligence documents show that U.S. and British naval operations in the region increased dramatically after the war. Coincidence? Or were they searching for something? If Die Glocke truly existed, what did it do? Was it a propulsion device, a time machine, a new kind of energy source, or something else entirely? Something even its creators didn't fully understand. Within Nazi documents, it had another name, a code name whispered among only the highest ranks of the SS Science Division. They called it Kronos, the time device. According to Igor Witkowski's account and later investigations, Die Glocke was powered by a strange fuel known as Serum 525. Described as a dense, violet-hued metallic liquid, it was kept in vacuum-sealed containers lined with lead. When energized inside the bell's twin rotating chambers, it reportedly generated violent electromagnetic fields, and possibly something far stranger. No one knows exactly what Serum 525 was. Some suggest it may have been a compound of mercury and thorium, supercooled and subjected to intense magnetism. Others theorize it could have involved red mercury, a mysterious substance often linked to Cold War-era nuclear black markets, known for its alleged ability to create powerful energy releases in small packages. The bell's inner cylinders would spin this liquid at extraordinary speeds, creating what some physicists now describe as torsion fields, hypothetical distortions in space-time that could, in theory, reduce gravity, or even rip open temporary windows in time. It sounds outlandish, but modern black-budget aerospace firms have quietly explored similar effects under the labels of gravitational shielding, inertial dampening, and mass reduction through rotational magnetism. Could the Nazis have stumbled onto these principles 8 decades ago? The name Kronos wasn't given lightly. Some accounts claim that during activation, observers saw time anomalies, clocks slowing, light behaving strangely, and test subjects becoming disoriented. Certain Nazi documents make vague references to non-linear biological effects and chronometric distortion events. In one chilling passage attributed to Sporenberg, a test object placed near the bell disappeared, only to reappear days later, deformed and vibrating uncontrollably. Witnesses also reported a buzzing sound that altered pitch, as if warping frequencies themselves. Some nearby observers developed vertigo and memory loss. Others allegedly aged rapidly, though these claims remain anecdotal, buried beneath layers of secrecy and death. Could Die Glocke have been an early experiment in time manipulation? Perhaps not in the way we imagine time travel, but more like bending or looping time locally in microcosmic bursts, a ripple in the fabric of reality. Here's where the story becomes more than legend. In 2018, a former intelligence official named Luis Elizondo, who ran the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, AATIP, revealed that the U.S. had been secretly studying unidentified aerial phenomena and the physics behind them. One of the key areas, gravitational manipulation through rotating mass and high-energy fields. This mirrors what Die Glocke was rumored to do. Meanwhile, the U.S. Navy filed patents for bizarre craft using internal plasma toroids and high-frequency oscillators, technologies eerily similar to what the bell was described to produce. Though officially labeled theoretical, these patents suggest an intense interest in non-conventional propulsion. Were these projects inspired by something recovered, something brought over post-World War II under Operation Paperclip, or something reverse-engineered? The timeline fits, and so do the names. On December 9, 1965, something crashed into the woods near Kecksburg, Pennsylvania. Eyewitnesses described a glowing, acorn-shaped object with strange markings. Within hours, the U.S. military arrived, cordoned off the area, and removed the object. The government's official explanation? A meteor. But many noticed a peculiar resemblance. The object looked remarkably like Die Glocke. In fact, German researchers who studied the bell's original dimensions say the Kecksburg object matches them nearly exactly. Some theorists believe this was Die Glocke resurfacing, possibly during testing or escape. Others think it may have been a U.S. military experiment, reverse-engineered from Nazi technology, hidden away for 20 years. Was it coincidence, or the final piece in a puzzle that spans decades, continents, and realities? When the Third Reich fell, the world assumed its darkest secrets fell with it. But that's not quite true. Some of its most brilliant and dangerous minds didn't die in the ruins of Berlin. They simply disappeared. Many believe the story of Die Glocke didn't end in the Owl Mountains. In fact, that may have been just the beginning. Because as the Allies closed in, something extraordinary happened. The scientist vanished, the bell disappeared, and the paper trail went cold. Or rather, it went underground. At the center of this conspiracy stands SS General Hans Kammler, one of the most enigmatic and feared figures in Nazi science. He had direct oversight of the V2 rocket program, the construction of secret underground facilities, and classified propulsion research. He controlled more than 14 million Reichsmarks in black budget funding, and most disturbingly, he answered only to Heinrich Himmler. Official Nazi records claim Kammler committed suicide in May 1945, but witnesses dispute this. Some say he was seen alive after the war. Others claim he negotiated his surrender to U.S. forces in exchange for immunity and protection. A 2001 German investigation found no conclusive evidence of his death and concluded that Kammler may have escaped with the help of American intelligence. If that's true, the question becomes, what was so valuable that the Allies would protect an SS war criminal? Many believe the answer is Die Glocke. After Germany's surrender, the U.S. launched a covert operation to extract Nazi scientific talent before the Soviets could. It was called Operation Paperclip. More than 1,600 German scientists, engineers, and technicians were secretly brought to the United States, many with ties to weapons programs and some with direct connections to SS-funded research. Among them, Wernher von Braun, architect of the V2 rocket, later head of NASA's Saturn V program; Kurt Debus, a known Nazi who became the first director of Kennedy Space Center; Hubertus Strugold, whose research into high-altitude survival was rooted in grim Nazi experiments. Publicly, Paperclip was about space and missiles, but behind the scenes, the US was collecting more than blueprints. They were absorbing the full scope of Nazi innovation, including experimental energy systems, electromagnetic propulsion, and exotic physics. And here's where it gets strange. According to leaked CIA memos from the late 1940s, a number of unknown Nazi energy devices were allegedly confiscated, studied, and relocated during post-war cleanup. One file, declassified in part in 2010, refers cryptically to a rotating device housed in ceramic and lead casing, exhibiting high field emissions. No name, no diagrams, but the description fits Die Glocke almost exactly. Rumors persist that the Bell, or its technology, was transported to either Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio or Los Alamos, New Mexico, where advanced energy and propulsion programs were based. Still others believe it was dismantled, reassembled, and tested in secret until the early 1960s, possibly causing the Kecksburg crash in 1965. If so, the US government may have acquired a working prototype of Nazi time distortion or propulsion tech and buried it beneath layers of classification ever since. Not all believe the Bell ended up in the hands of the US. Thousands of Nazis escaped to Argentina, Chile, and Brazil after the war, many using secret routes known as rat lines, aided by sympathetic clergy and corrupt officials. One Argentine journalist claimed in the 1980s that German-speaking men had been seen transporting large, sealed cargo crates into a remote estate in Patagonia, cargo so heavy it required specialized equipment. The same witness mentioned hearing the phrase, Die Glocke, whispered among former SS officers. Other accounts tell of strange humming noises, violet lights, and even sudden vegetation die-offs near isolated German settlements. Most of this is hearsay, but if the Bell was moved to South America, it would explain its complete disappearance from European and American records, and its potential protection by former SS loyalists far from Allied jurisdiction. If Die Glocke still exists, no one's admitting it. The US government has never acknowledged the program. Germany, too, has buried the subject under decades of silence. And yet, the patents filed by modern aerospace firms, the whispers of breakaway Nazi tech, the revival of torsion field theories by modern physicists, the UFOs that violate known aerodynamic laws, they all suggest someone picked up the trail. Whether it was the Americans, the Soviets, or a group entirely off the books, Die Glocke may never have been lost, just rebranded, repurposed, and kept hidden. The war ended. The Nazis fell. The world moved on, but some secrets never die. They linger, half remembered, half denied, until myth and reality become impossible to separate. Die Glocke is one of those secrets. We still don't know what it really was. A weapon? A machine? A misinterpreted experiment? Or something far stranger, a device that challenged the very boundaries of physics, time, and human understanding. Whatever it was, its ghost still haunts modern science. And its story isn't over. Today, Die Glocke is often dismissed as a conspiracy theory, a sci-fi footnote lost in a sea of post-war paranoia. But look closer, and you'll find something stranger. Its fingerprints are everywhere. In UFO lore, it appears as a possible explanation for early post-war sightings. In Cold War intelligence archives, it lingers under vague terms like exotic propulsion research and rotating field plasma containment. In alternative physics circles, it's referenced in connection with the still unverified but actively explored concept of gravitational field manipulation. And in the shadows of military R&D, the questions haven't stopped. Why are governments still filing patents for field propulsion systems with no known practical application? Why did the US Air Force declassify thousands of UFO documents in recent years, some of which describe objects with characteristics eerily similar to what Die Glocke was said to do? Was it all coincidence? Or the silent acknowledgement of something deeper? One element often overlooked is the bizarre fusion of science and mysticism that infected the upper levels of the Nazi regime. Organizations like the Ahnenerbe, led by Heinrich Himmler himself, weren't just collecting archaeological relics. They were obsessed with ancient knowledge, esoteric symbols, and pre-Christian technologies, especially anything that might tie modern power to mythical origins. Some researchers suggest Die Glocke was part of this arcane obsession, an attempt to reawaken knowledge supposedly lost to time. The idea that the device could bend or distort time aligns eerily with ancient legends of objects that could open the heavens, stop the stars, or summon the gods. Myth? Perhaps. But the fact that an industrial empire like Nazi Germany would fund such things at all suggests they believed something was possible, and that belief might have borne fruit. Among the most extreme and controversial theories is that Die Glocke was relocated not to South America, not to the United States, but to Antarctica, a place so remote, so inaccessible, that even today large parts remain unexplored. The theory claims that remnants of the SS fled south near the war's end, establishing Base 211 beneath the ice. There, under cover of geothermal caves and ice-locked mountains, they allegedly continued their work, possibly with Die Glockes as their crown jewel. Skeptical? You should be. But in 1947, a massive U.S. Navy task force, led by Admiral Richard Byrd, launched Operation High Jump, an expedition to Antarctica with a large military presence, including aircraft carriers, destroyers, and thousands of men. Officially, it was a training mission. Unofficially, it ended abruptly after just weeks, with reports of aircraft losses and unusual aerial encounters later dismissed as weather accidents. If Die Glocke made it to the ice, perhaps it never stopped spinning. We may never know the full truth about Die Glocke. Was it a misunderstood experiment, buried in the chaos of war? A Cold War propaganda tool to stir paranoia? Or was it something else entirely? A glimpse of the future in the hands of the past? Perhaps the most chilling thought isn't that it was destroyed. It's that it worked, and someone, somewhere, is still trying to understand it, or worse, to use it. If Die Glocke was the product of a mad empire, then what does it mean if it survived that empire's fall? Not all weapons leave a crater. Some leave only questions and silence. If this journey into Die Glocke intrigued you, don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the world's forbidden history. Die Glocke may have bent time, but it wasn't born from science alone. Behind it stood something older, stranger, a secret division of the Reich, obsessed with ancient power and otherworldly truths. They called it the Ahnenerbe, and what they uncovered was never meant to be found. In the next episode, we follow their trail. Thanks for watching. This is Fated History.